Alright, what's going on everybody? This is a 2004 Kawasaki Prairie 700 four-wheel drive with the front differential lock. This one has 1,000 miles and about 130 hours, so it averaged a little over 10 miles per hour in its entire life for the whole time. I just want to give you a few little ideas and some things to think about before you buy one of these. The Kawasaki's, they aren't known for their reliability. I haven't had this one that long, but I just want to give you a few of my ideas when you're buying one. The first one is, it's a beautiful looking machine, I think. The color scheme is very nice. The racks are very, very good. The paint is very good on them. This has lasted perfectly fine the whole time that it's, lived its life here. One thing to think about though, it has a full front bumper setup, but it has plastic guards on it, which will get pretty messed up pretty quickly. And this mesh right here is real thin. You're gonna bend that really easy. That's just something to think about. But luckily those guards covering the CV axles come factory. They say Kawasaki on them. Plus the knuckles for the suspension also kind of protect that inner boot, which is really nice. The headlights are very, very good, high and low beam. I like that it doesn't have the third headlight pod on the top. I just think that's ugly. This doesn't have it, which I like, and it has the color match plastics up there, which I think is really cool. This one in particular has ITP Mudlight tires. They're pretty worn. I got it like this, but it works well in the mud. Another thing to consider when you're doing maintenance on this thing is it has a oil filter just like a car does, so that's really nice. It's right there. It's real simple to change. Your starter's right there. It's 2 bolts. Pop that off and you're good to go. A downside to this though, if you're thinking about riding 2 people, say you got your wife, your boyfriend if you're a girl, or whatever. My girlfriend is 5'2", 120 pounds. She has to rest her legs right here. She has to, because she doesn't quite, she's not tall enough to put her legs down there. That's okay, but the one thing that sucks about this is you've got your exhaust, both of them routed right up, right where your legs would sit if you're her or anybody else riding on the back. That sucks. It gets hot, and I'm talking hot, hot. Like, you can't rest your legs there. You will get burned if you're not wearing boots or pants. Just something to think about. As a rider, as the driver, it's not bad because you're kind of sitting up here where there's not as much heat. But if you're a passenger resting your feet, it's going to be pretty rough. But a good thing about this machine is that the seat is big and it's very comfortable, especially for the rear rider. What else? A nice thing about this particular machine is it's straight axle in the rear. I wanted straight axle if I was going to buy an older machine because the older independent suspensions weren't very strong and it didn't ride all that well anyway. So I wanted to go with the straight axle, and luckily this is a big bore ATV back in the early 2000s that had a straight axle, so I like that. A downside to that though is, for some reason, the suspension on this, if you're taking it hard left or hard right, for some reason it wants to pick up that side. So if you're making a hard left turn, it wants to pick up that left rear tire. I don't know why it does that. It's kind of annoying, but you really have to steer this thing with the throttle. That's just the way. I don't know if that's a Kawasaki thing or just this particular suspension setup, but that leads me into my next point. If you're looking into one of these, probably one of the biggest selling points is the huge Kawasaki 700 V-twin engine. It lives up to the hype, people. It is amazing what it can do. I had my girlfriend and I on it. It was probably about 320 pounds together, and I let off at 60, and it could have kept going easily. This thing is stupid fast. It can get you stupid hurt very quickly. And that's a good thing, right? That's why you want to buy one of these, because it's just intense how quick it is. And one thing, if you've never ridden a big bore Kawasaki, the throttle response is just amazing. I mean, it's addictive. You just put your finger in the throttle and it just is pissed off. It wants to go, and I mean get out of town and go. It's quick, it's powerful. In low gear, it'll do wheelies in high and low gear, doesn't matter. Launching in 4-wheel drive is intense. So get ready to scare your partner or whoever else is gonna ride with you, because it's gnarly, that's for sure. What else can I say? These are kind of nice too, in that they have a front differential lock, which personally you need to have, in my opinion, if you're going to do any serious riding. that's huge to me. I needed that if I was going to shell out the big money for, you know, a bigger quad. I've had all sorts of machines. You can look at my videos for that. My recent is a Suzuki Jagger 400. Anyways, it's great. This four-wheeler is awesome. The four-wheel drive system is good. You know, it's all electronic. You know, it's not like a Honda where you had a lever and it was all analog, which has its pros and cons. This is all electronic everything, which, you know, it's okay. It's worked so far. You know, it hasn't let me down yet, but, you know, it's just something to think about. There is a lot of electronics on this thing, from the engine brake control module to all the sensors on the engine to the four-wheel drive actuator system. There is a lot of electronics on this thing, which kind of scares me because I'm used to very simple, you know, four-wheelers, but we'll see how this goes. You know, if it lets me down or whatever, I'm not hesitant, you know, to sell it. You know, I'll let somebody else enjoy it or figure it out or whatever. But other than that, you know, it's pretty simple. This doesn't have park like your Grizzlies back in the day. This doesn't have park. This just has low, high, neutral, and reverse. But one thing that's nice about these is it has, you know, a wet. It's the brakes for the rear are housed in the differential, which is kind of neat in my opinion, because you don't have to worry about drums. Like back in these 2000s, you know, a lot of four-wheelers had rear drums, especially the Hondas. And this is just real simple. The handbrake for it is real easy. It's got kind of a safety brake feature on it, which is nice. You just hit the lever and it'll, you know, hold steady for you, and you can tow it in the bed of the truck just fine. I mean, still strapped obviously, but you know what I mean. One thing I found kind of trick about the suspension on this is it's got an external reservoir shock. I mean, that's a Showa made in Japan Kawasaki shock with an external reservoir. That's pretty sweet in my opinion. This thing's very comfortable to ride around. It takes up bumps really well. Downsides. So this motor, I mean, it gets hot. Even I understand, you know, you're the passenger and it gets very hot, and if you're the rider, it's tolerable. You know, it gets warm, but it's not overbearing, especially if you're wearing pants and boots. But I mean, this engine puts out some serious heat, especially if you're going full throttle for long periods of time, or especially if you're doing slow paced riding, mud, whatever. I mean, this thing is going to get hot. Not overheating hot, but it just runs very hot. Another thing to think about, these Kawasaki engine brake controllers, they tend to go bad, they tend to seize up, they tend to whatever. It's a pain. It sucks. This one works. It will probably go out, I'm sure, soon. So that's one thing to think about. Another thing is the front axle actuator, the four-wheel drive actuator. Basically, those are known to go out. They're very expensive to replace. You can get tank levers where you do it manually. Am I crazy about that? No, not really, but because you're kind of changing up the whole four-wheel drive system, and you're putting in an aftermarket setup, which I'm not crazy about aftermarket stuff. Kawasaki put an electronic thing in there for a reason. Either way, it's up to your discretion. It hasn't gone bad on me yet, so I'm just not going to mess with it. What else? It's a great machine. I haven't had it for very long. I've put about 2 rides on it, and it's good. I paid $4,200 for it. Is that a lot of money? Absolutely. That's way more money than I think I should have paid for it, and I hope it doesn't let me down, but you know what? It's been a lot of fun so far, and I think so far, you know, it's a good four-wheeler. I'd recommend it to somebody that has a good bit of experience repairing four-wheelers or cars or trucks. If you don't know how to repair stuff on your own and you're not good at diagnosing stuff, I would not get an older big bore Kawasaki, because they're not known to be reliable. This one hasn't let me down, but still, it's just something to think about. The exhaust sounds amazing. The motor sounds amazing. And the low gear is really, really good for if you're in the mud or whatever and don't want to smoke your belt. The CVT transmission on this particular model is insane. How quick it hooks up and goes. It's very loud, as most belt drives are. Even my Yamaha Grizzly 660 was loud. The belt drives are just are loud. Anyways, this is a long video. Check out my other stuff. I've got riding videos of my other four-wheelers. I've got reviews on trucks. I've got all sorts of crazy stuff. So if you want, leave this video a like. let me know what you want to see, and y'all take care and enjoy your machine, enjoy your rides.